I would like to start with a quote, because we're here at the Bruno Kreisky Forum, and Bruno Kreisky once said in German, wir müssen alle Lebensbereiche mit Demokratie durchfluten, which means basically we have to implement democracy in all areas of living. And so I would like you to elaborate a little bit about democracy in areas apart from the political system, also in context with the new social movements of the later years.
Right. That's a really radical idea. I'm surprised he said that. So that's, I would say, one way of thinking about democracy outside of the political process is in terms of the common, or even in terms of private property. I mean, that I think that private property is an obstacle to our equal and active participation in decision making. That's how I would try to think about democracy outside of this political sphere. Think about democracy as equal access to a decision-making process, and a decision-making process that allows us all to participate actively and equally. That's certainly one of the things that the various encampments and occupations of 2011 tried to experiment with. The General Assemblies were a mechanism for trying that. Anyone who participated in any of the General Assemblies know how, I don't know, how boring they were, how much they failed, how many problems they had. But nonetheless, it's a really important experiment, I think, in trying to create means for everyone to have access to decision making about our lives. You know, so you said not just in the political sphere, but in all phases of life, having equal access to our lives and to decision making about it. You know, we need, in a way, structures or mechanisms, let's say, for making those decisions.
So a short follow-up: when you in Austria, there is 2013 is a big year of elections, and also all parties say that they want to implement direct democracy into the constitution and the system. So, do you think that we can learn something from the various occupations to live direct democracy outside the parliament or outside some decision making? And is election better, or when we implement direct democracy, or can we implement direct democracy in representative systems?
One of the generalized demands in the different encampments and occupations was to do away with representatives, not only leaders, but all kinds of structures of representation, and therefore give people access to making decisions collectively to get together. And so it seems to me that there's certainly something we could learn. And maybe what we could most learn, I think, from these, I would insist on calling them experiments. Experiments in a square, in a relatively limited thing. One of the things we can learn is a desire for democracy, or a renewed thinking about democracy. I mean, I think it sounds very naive, or I think it is naive in a purely positive way. But the slogan of the Indignados at the beginning was Democracia Real Ya, real democracy now. That notion of real democracy, first of all, supposes that what we have now is not, and then poses a desire to construct something different, to make democracy something different. That's maybe what I would take most that we can and should learn from the movements, to take this desire for experimenting with, and in some ways to reinvigorate or redefine the concept of democracy, which in my view has become so corrupt that it's almost unusable today.
Okay, so I would like to pose one final question, and it's a short one. In your wonderful book about Deleuze, you wrote at the end of the book that we can learn from Deleuze something about democratic institutions or democratic living.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Deleuze all over in all of your publications. So I would like you to mention maybe one idea or one notion, or I know there are many, but one of the most interesting, why Deleuze, of the theoretical framework, why Deleuze can help us to think about democratic politics and occupations.
There are many. It's difficult, so that's hard. It's hard to choose. But if I were to say one of the more provocative ones, but seems to me central, is together with Guattari, and it's certainly Guattari's insistence, is that the family is one of the greatest obstacles to. They wouldn't just say democracy, but the family is one of the primary repressive institutions, both of social repression and of psychic repression for them. And this was a widespread project in the 70s among feminist movements and other movements, it seemed, and it plays a large part in Deleuze and Guattari's work together. That renewal of a critique of the family seems to me would be a challenging and healthy aspect of Deleuze and Guattari's work that would be that we could take up today.
Okay, thank you very much.